Let's see if this works. Cool. So what I recommend is when we're looking at analytics is you try and look over consistent periods of time. When I'm working with companies, I like to work in weekly schedules. Now, this isn't the way that all businesses run in weekly stuff, but with analytics, you want to be comparing like for like. So you don't want to compare months usually, because months have different number of days. Now, when you get up into quite big traffic, it can be less different. And if your e-commerce earnings or some other business earnings are tied to months, then often you do have to stick to months. But it can mean if you're comparing month to month, and I always say analytics is all about relative change. So you don't know anything by just looking at 1 day or 1 month, apart from something. Maybe there's one piece of information you find, but everything else is about relative change. We don't know whether this traffic was good or bad, or this is this a good few days, or is this a horrible few days for this website without a comparison. So definitely look at stuff over time. I like weeks because it's easier to compare stuff with a from week to week, because you can action stuff and then see a change. So if we look at, say, this traffic with this analytics code, we can see, for example, that there's maybe some interesting thing to look at. Is if we looked at January, February. I didn't want this. I wanted April to March. So compared to previous. Apply. No, come on. Compared to previous. So let's do April to March. But for example, on that previous one, there was no data. So maybe we know that this is a new code, or we know, oh, there was something to be worried about, or we've done really well. We've done something new this month. So this one's a bit better. We can see that the trend over a month is sort of similar. There's stuff going on, but then there was some activity here. So obviously we can see that's a positive. And obviously we always want to know that the blue stuff is coming up and up. But it's harder to know this if you can't see relative change. With a small site like this, I'd probably I'd come and dive into this more detail. Most of analytics is more set up for investigating one tiny little piece of information. You need to make your own dashboards or your own sets of data in Excel or somewhere else that you keep track of stuff on a broader sense and to your business need. The only way of looking at this data is these relative changes and these broad signals that contribute to your bottom line, whether that's more visitors or more money or whatever your transaction is. So from this site, I think mainly it's going to be lead generation and also content of people coming back and viewing articles. So we want some, so if I say before we've even looked at this is a new thing to me, that we want people, new visitors coming in here hard and repeat visiting, because we want to know that we've picked up these people and that we have got more connection with this audience. If we're only getting new visitors here, then we're not hitting the audience properly, or they're not remembering and coming back. So we need to correct that in some way. So if we just looked at this top line, I won't go through so many of the numbers, but if I just give some of the words so that when we're covering the other stuff, they make sense. Sessions tend to be useful for looking at what people are actually doing on the website, because what you have is a number of users will have a number of sessions. So a session by default is roughly half an hour of viewing time. So if someone views the website for half an hour and they keep using the website, that's still one session. But if they went away for half an hour and then they came back again, it will start them a new session. Or if they switch to another device or something, it's mostly going to start them a new session. So this is why you'll have maybe 1,000 sessions, over 1,000 sessions for 800 people. It's they visited the website several times during that month, and that's obviously what we'd like. Is if we want to grow repeat traffic and stuff, we want to have more sessions for less users, sort of thing, or more users, but we want more sessions for each of those, so they're coming back and they're viewing our site more, especially with lead generation too. Lead generation is sometimes not quite as important, because with lead generation, you mostly want them to convert and you're not so bothered with them coming back as long as they've got to you and got into your next stage of funnel. Users are individual users. Now, we start with, obviously, we don't know anything about these people. We can see some positive change. But what you can get with a small site like this is if you send out one newsletter or one thing, you can jump the things a lot, because what we can see is that's gone to 100 sessions from 20, so it's a good change, but it was only on that day. On the other days, they're just sort of smaller numbers. So this could just mean that one post got picked up, but it's making the whole month look good. And that's definitely something you can find when someone's got a really big email list, say for a travel site or a shop or something. They think their month is great because they sent out one newsletter, and no one, but the baseline traffic is not growing. You want these events to happen, but you want the baseline traffic to grow as well, because then it means people are growing and you're actually doing something worthwhile, because you're going to be, in a sense, you're paying for this growth. You've done a post or you've paid for an advert or something, and so you've paid to get that in, but what you want is the rest of the growth to kick through as well. Next one is page views. So this is individual actual loading of a page. So we can see, we want to see that people are going around like sessions, but you want to see more pages per session and more users having a session. So this means that they get past one page, and that's the key challenge, which is a good thing to see on this sort of smaller site, is that people are getting past page one. What you get in a lot of sites that would say just blogs is you'll get less than one pages a session, because people come on, read and leave again, or you're ranking for keywords that people don't really find interesting, or it's not your answer to their problem, is not what they were looking for. So so definitely getting people up here, and with a blog, yeah, more pages they're reading, the better, because then they're getting engaged in your content and you're going to have more chance to sell stuff to them and things. Bounce rate's another thing you can do you want to bring down. Bounce rate is when they first visit the website, do they jump straight back off again? This is what a lot of traffic basically does, because it browses through Google. So you do a Google search and then you click on 2 or 3 links on that page and go, oh no, that one wasn't right, that one wasn't right, that one was right. Now Google counts that too, and will penalize you in sort of small incremental ways for people just not finding value in your content. But also on your website, you want to know, yeah, people are going to be staying longer. So there can be some contributing factors. So for example, if the number of users went up and these are new traffic that you've got, it is possible that your bounce rate would go up because they're not getting it. But what we can see is the bounce rate is coming down, which is what we want to see. I definitely would target for a site like this to try and get it down to more like 60 or 50, but possibly 70s are not too bad if most of the traffic is coming through search and sort of generating new leads. If you're actually converting some stuff, it doesn't really matter so much what the bounce rate is, as long as you're getting people through. And again, new sessions is basically of these people, how many people had visited you before, and then the session duration. So you can sort of look on there and see if these are really low, but they're looking at a lot of pages, maybe they can't really find what they're looking at on the website. They're just like click, 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 not really finding what I'm looking for. But if they're staying a while and click, 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 then they're enjoying what you're doing and they're finding stuff. Especially if you want to get to a purchase, you might want to get this time down because you want to get someone through a purchase or through a funnel, but you want to get it at least to being 3 or 4 minutes, because that's what you've timed it takes you to get through a checkout process or buy a product or sign up for a newsletter or whatever. So you can sort of set yourself some little goals as to, I want to try and get to 3 minutes on website. Probably over 2 minutes is optimistic on a content site, unless you've got some other reason for them to keep coming on, because what you're going to be more interested in is more users coming back more often and reading the pages, not staying so long. And obviously it depends on how long your articles are. If you make your articles longer or shorter, they're going to stay more or less time. Another little thing from the homepage is just seeing some sort of language of the people using the site. So we've got a bit of sort of Brazilian Portuguese sort of people, some German, some French, little tiny bits. But yeah, mostly it's American English or GB English. American English is a little bit tricky with what it says on here, because that doesn't necessarily mean that they're all English American speakers. The default keyboard setup and the default language on most computers that are sold into Europe and Asia and stuff is American. They might not be typing in American, but the computer and the keyboard's default is set like this, and people don't know how to change it. So that number is obviously usually skewed a little bit. So just keep going down here just to give some baseline numbers, and then we'll dig into some content. But we can see that content is definitely coming from America and England. So yeah, obviously you'd want to decide whether you value which one of these more. If you want more clients remote and you don't really need them locally, then yeah, finding American people or finding people to talk about you and share your content can be good. If you're more interested in just people in the UK, then obviously this is the baseline numbers that you want to move up as much as these. But it can be interesting to see where maybe new business, maybe there's an opportunity to start targeting, I don't know, India or Australia or Brazil for certain things, and you could dig into what particular content are they looking at, or are they just sort of spam bots or other traffic, or they're looking at just one page on your website has suddenly hit. I think from your business location and stuff, this is obviously a good number to look at too, is trying to get more people visiting from London if you want to have these sort of people who you can go and visit. This one's potentially interesting. I contract with some developers who work out of there. There's quite a good tech hub there, so maybe there's some speaking for e-learning for courses for people learning how to be programmers, learning how to be outsourced type workers. Maybe there's an opportunity there. Then just quickly looking at the sort of browsing and stuff, a lot of this Mac and sort of general Chrome. Potentially it'll be worth, we'll go and look at the settings in a minute, whether a lot of this is from yourself. Maybe some of this traffic is being counted from you. So we have to always watch out from the numbers afterwards that you exclude any offices or any business stuff that you can from yourself, so that you don't skew your own data. The other stuff tends to not be so interesting. It can be interesting to just check, is it more an Android type of customer or an iOS customer? We can start building up a profile of what type of person. We can put the operating system or the mobile versus laptop plus a country or a city and see, is this more likely people who are mobile and sort of reading this in their casual time, or is it that they're reading this in work time because it's a business reason? We sort of start to profile people. There is definitely seems to be, though, a skew to the screen resolutions that people are seeing are our smallest type screens on the mobile device. So this suggests, I'm not sure what it suggests. Maybe some of the Android devices don't report their Retina screens the same as the other ones, but definitely the sort of smaller device sizes are being reported on there. So so that's cool. So has anyone got any questions just from that round of sort of just very basic roundup stuff, and then we'll try and dig into some stuff. Cool. So what we can see in here is we get a lot of data, and I find some of it is useful when you want to sort of debug and dig into the things, but some of it can be not so useful day to day. It sort of gets a distraction. So there's sort of things like most businesses aren't real-time businesses. So what I tend to use this for is for tracking, or if you actually had a campaign running or actually had an event or something running, go and look at this. But if we're having the tracking, we can go, right, well, we'll go over here and we'll refresh the page. And we just want to see that it does turn up over here in a second. So there we go. We've got a visit turning up, and we can sort of see, yeah, what was going on with that visit. Yep, so it's a desktop person. So as the data comes in, and I visited the blog. So this is sort of useful just to check your tracking's working. I tend to use this for. There is some other uses for the real-time stuff, but I tend to just use it from that purposes, just to see stuff's going on. I mean, unless you had some particularly busy event and you were interested in that stuff. Cool. So yeah, most of this stuff isn't so interesting. Building up segments is very useful. I'll try and go over and flip over to show it on my accounts. It is worth always looking at baseline everybody, but the only way of actually getting value out of stuff is comparing segments, comparing like for like. So people in America and the UK and India and things, they've all got slightly different intents, or maybe people who visited the blog are different to people who visited the other landing pages. So it totally can be, oh, I'm going to get my segment, so we'll have some stuff. So we could compare people in the UK versus rest of the world. So these are segments I've set up already. And when we run this, now it's quite small data, so we might need to put some bigger stuff in, and we probably don't want the comparison anymore. So we might need to put some longer time in. But what we can start to see, therefore, is for example, for this giving us an audience view, we'll get the difference between people in the UK versus people in the rest of the world. So we could sort of say people in the UK are flatlining, but there is some growth going on in the rest of the world. Now, if we were doing this sort of thing, we'd probably want to put in a longer period because there's much less data. I don't like to build with data unless it's in the thousands, because when you're down at sort of 60s and 30s and stuff, so little things like just more visits on one page or something can just totally throw the numbers off. That's why we want to try and keep up in these trends. But you can totally see that there's been this good growth, which we'll go and dive into in a little bit. But we hope means there's some new content or some new newsletters going out, or something that started picking up some new activity. So it's obviously a positive thing of where we're growing. Now, what you may see if you don't keep up with the activity is you may see a plateau, and then you'll go up again, because basically what this first bit is, if this website is new, we can only assume it's new from that the tracking's just started. It may be that a new website design is actually being picked up by Google, and a lot of this stuff is just getting up to its first real ranking in analytics, in Google search sort of thing. So what you'll sort of get is you get up to your first plateau, and then you want to see activity after that, because we might say, well, this traffic isn't really valid, it's just that the new pages were getting newly indexed. But being able to see some different stuff, so we can see that the growth in the UK sector is going for returning visitors, so there's a lot more returning and stuff, but there's new growth definitely in sort of rest of the world versus UK. So you get a little bit more when you're doing that. So that's what I tend to work out with, is sort of work in sort of 2 or 3 groups of segments. Don't go too crazy on it. I mean, you only want to be up at around sort of 5 or and under 10 total. But if you look at some, and it depends on the business. So for you, I'd go some country segments, and possibly also some time of day or type of browser or type of OS thing, to try and see what could you profile people on, or maybe the profile is people who have at some point visited the blog versus people who got your contact us page or something. Some sort of little segments of sort of finding out, you're trying to break down your customers into a type of customer, and therefore see, this is the segment I want to grow, but is it that I'm finding that the rest of the world one is the one that's growing and the UK one isn't? And then you can sort of, that's what you want to peg your activity against, is where's it going with these activities. So let's just get rid of the other ones while we look at the other stuff. Get rid of that. So segments you can make up, and you can add your own. So these are added in, and you put them on the other side. There are some built-in ones like bounce sessions, direct only traffic. Those tend to be more interesting. Is your balance between organic traffic from visitors from other websites, from search coming in from the website, and the other one from excuse me a minute. So what you want to be looking for is visitors that are coming in from search versus ones coming from other websites versus ones coming in from direct, that might be from email or word of mouth or different things like this. So these are useful to look at. We can try and look at things like demographics and stuff and see what it's profiled. When a site's this small, it probably won't get a great amount of data. It'll give you one of these, like some data is being projected, like it's trying to figure out this stuff. But this one's sort of interesting to sort of say that if we looked at the colors over here, so this is our all users. So our all user thing is sort of around that 35-44 target, and the people in the UK are fitting that, but the people outside the UK are younger. So maybe they're more aspiring or something else like this. To fit into this world, so that's sort of interesting. And basically, the balance for the rest of the world is this sort of fairly generic split, but the UK definitely more of a female audience. So that might carry through to your targeting and your messaging and stuff. That might be good if you're finding that's what the clients are and what you're talking to. Yeah, things like sessions and stuff, it is very useful to be able to compare. I mean, this is much more interesting to see that an average for the rest of the world versus the average for the UK, there's a different amount of time of new sessions, and that it's a similar number of new users, but the rest of the world people are creating more sessions, but they are bouncing a lot more. So it must be more researching and sort of stuff, but it's not so much difference on the time and stuff. So there's probably, if you dive into that a little bit more, there's probably a section of the rest of the world that's doing really well and really enjoying your content, and then another set that's sort of maybe just finding you for other reasons, other search terms and things. Yeah, most of this stuff isn't so interesting. Tend to, yeah, so the all users coming a lot from America. Some of the stuff with the audience, I do tend to go into location. Probably this is getting a bit weird with having all these segments. Hang on, let's get rid of these. So it is worth sort of going into the United Kingdom and seeing what parts of the UK, so what countries, and then you can add a secondary dimension of the city. I think we can add city in. So then just picking up some cities and stuff, this can help you either to see a trend from month to month, or just to see where you should target. So I mean, if you found that a lot of these are sort of Midlands, north towns, maybe these are good to look for events or meetups or people who are doing stuff more with those areas, because you are getting leads from there, and you want to see what your conversions into emails or people you connected with. But it's definitely useful to see this, or whether there'd been a growth in one of these areas, that may be somewhere you work, or maybe something new. Cool. So new and returning, these are good. So this is that stuff I've just talked about, all the content. It's good to work out these numbers, and then I track those numbers, but I don't look into them so much. I just want them as your baseline sort of stuff. Is new and returning visitors, different visitors in different countries as a segments, and some stuff on like the amount of sessions, the number of page views and things. Just keep those as a baseline. I have a spreadsheet that I work through, and then a second one that links up to value, and we either attribute value to content. So on most content sites, what I would do is and you can do it actually into Google Analytics, or do it afterwards as a count, but go any page in the blog, I will give a score of 1 to or something, or a score of 5 to, so that's the intent. I want people coming to this website. I want them to visit these pages. So if I score all my work and services pages in this example 0, but I score every page in the blog 1, what I'll start to see is my overall score for an individual person, their average score, and for the over of the month, is it going up? So is the score of the percentage of people who are viewing at least one blog page in their time viewing any other pages on the website, is that going up? This is the target. So what I tend to do is I do that on content, and therefore we give it a value. So we might say the value of this is £1 for every person visiting this article. If it was a very generating sales article, or there was a big lead magnet or something on it, we maybe give it more value. But if we said it was £1, then we could go into the content here. If we hadn't set it up, we just no, what do we want? We want behavior, site content. So if we go into content drill down, which basically it groups everything into a folder, and anything underneath it gets zapped up. So what we can see is there's a great big chunk there. So we can say for this month now, what we'll do is we'll go back to months and compare previous and see if we get anything nice out of it. Now we know that there's much more traffic this month, so we should get a big number. But what we can say is for the blog, we've earned ourselves £1,551 this month for blog content, and that's up almost 100% on last month of what we earned. So that's a value to it. Now you can start with, most people I say is just start with a 1 or a 10 for your numbers. If you can actually go back and work it out as to an average cost of an article. So if you go, right, it takes me about 2 hours to research, and then an hour to write, and then half an hour to post to everything. So you add that time up and go, well, that's the actual value of writing the article. Now that's for one of me. Now if
if I say I reckon 500 people are going to see that one article, so we'll do that money divided by 500. So if that was like £100 it'd cost you to write this one article, and 500 people were seeing them, you'd say, well, that's the value for people seeing that article. And if you go above that, because you've done good, you've written the article well, or you've promoted it well, then you're going to have seen a return, and you take that on board as that's your return, because if people are reading your content, reading your value, you've sold something. Now, if you can double that up by having a value on a conversion, so for example, we've got a conversion down here. If we add to the Google Analytics some tracking to give this whatever 25 points, £25 for, or £5 maybe is probably more like a bit, to value people visiting this trip. So we assume in the very minimum sense, we can go, we'll value that by being, if this course was 6 emails, well, that's like 6 pages. So if we've given £1 to each page, that's £6. So we've got at least £6 of value out of this person, because they can't walk away from those pages. They've still got to see them, but and then we can also say, well, we also have their email address, and let's value that at £20. So the value of this is £26 for everyone who signs up for this. Now, I'm sure there's a much bigger number that we could put on it, because or that user might turn into extra value afterwards, because if they converted to a next thing, or they talked back to us, they emailed us later. But this is how we can rank up value on content that doesn't have an intrinsic value in itself. But it's definitely worth doing that, because that gives you a benchmark, because then you can say, relative to this month, what did I get next month? And with some little codes that you can put in the page, you can get Google Analytics to track this and track that into the page. So you don't have to do the maths, or you just take it as this. But this number will only give you a bottom line number. It wouldn't give you a per user, because that's what would be interesting, is if a user looks at 3 pages, were 2 of them blog pages, or was only 1, or was none? And that's your relative value. So if you said, I'm really targeting blog content, I want people to see 2 blog pages, but I would like them to go on over and learn about me too, then what I want to say is, I want a 2/3 number to come back as to what value they got out. And if they're only seeing blog content, and I'm not so happy about that, then I need to tweak my design a bit, or promote a little bit more of other content. But that gives you a way of doing it. Then we can dive into the blog content and see, okay, we've got a breakdown by year. We've got some other category stuff, which probably isn't as interesting. So if we go into the year folder, and all we're doing is following the content. So that's the only thing that's a bit interesting is, and this is what I would suggest, is your blog is good written like this, that people don't have to click on it. But I could have read 3 or 4 articles here, and it would only have counted as 1. Like I don't know what someone's read on this page. There are some little ways that we can track where they've been, but realistically they can't. So if these were more, now you don't have to write it in this way, but if these were more like introductions, and I had to click through, I'm going to get much more of an understanding of that they read this article, or how long were they on this page. What it'll do is it'll bring your time on page down, because what it might be is that people are spending 2 minutes just reading this one page, but you've got no idea which article they were reading on this page. Whereas if you're looking at this page, we've got an idea. So we've got a date, and we've got a title, a slug, and we've got much more an idea of which content. So we can have an idea of which content to do more of, and also maybe target stuff differently to those. So if we go into the pages and start getting down to which articles we're good. So what we can see is this post, this gamification post, is the one that's been driving all the traffic. So look, once we go into that post, that's basically all your top line growth. It looks like, at least from the graph, has been on this one post. So I mean, that's brilliant in a sense. I mean, you've brought in for what we say, £100 of cost or whatever to write an article. We've brought in £600 of people visiting. So brilliant for that return. Now, obviously, we'd have to divide it a little bit if you spent £100 on 4 other articles and no one had read any of those. But what we don't know is how many people read this article or any other article who just didn't click through. So that would be what I would say. Now, obviously, you'd experiment with it a little bit, because maybe visitors are liking more the full page, but it doesn't tell you a lot if you don't see that. What we can do with this one is just we can go back to our segments. and we can turn back on rest of the world and UK, and sort of see where has this traffic come from? Like who was interested in this? Now that gets a little bit, excuse me, a little bit more weird. We don't want the 2 months because there's too many things going on. So what we've got is all visitors, but I'm not sure where these have come from. Then there'll be something else that's not counting in my rest of the world and my UK segment. I have to go and check those segments. But what we can see though is it is more clearly, it's being picked up by the rest of the world more than the UK. Now, the people who visited from the UK may be more valuable customers, so from your business point of view, but it's an interesting thing of finding out where was the pickup for this article. And then the other one was probably as much that this article seems to have been published around the beginning of April, but it went really big over here. So this could either be that you've promoted it more here, or that it got picked up more by search. And the sort of good title, best example of gamification I've ever seen, must be to do with what people are searching and stuff. We'll see if we've got any search. See if we've got any search term. We probably won't. No, we don't get any search data. So that's the only disappointment. We'd probably have to go over to Webmaster Tools and see if we could get any keywordy stuff, just to get an idea of why these people were visiting, whether there were some topics that we could cover again. But that's useful for that. Come here. Cool. Site speed can be useful. Again, it's the sort of thing that I'll look at when we're improving a website, but not much otherwise, unless it radically changed. You want sites to load fast and be responsive. I tend to just have that as a sort of quarterly task, or every time a review task, just to come in and check that how we're doing for sort of average load times and stuff. And with a site small like this, the numbers in here, though the titles of what it's looking for are good, it might not have enough data. We might want to do our own tests, sort of speed tests and things of what we're going. So that's not so interesting for us at the moment. Let's see if we get any data in here just to see stuff. No, we're going to get like nothing, which probably means all your stuff's coming from Google. Oh no, sorry, this is site search, but wrong search. Let's go back up here. So we'll just go through the content source. So this would be the other important one that I'd be looking at is what you tend to have is you've got a portfolio of link building and traffic. So different companies have different sort of portfolio made up of. And what I want to do is I usually want to shift it in the favor of where we want to go, what our target is. So, but first you have to audit it. So you want to know, are these mostly coming from direct from search? Are they coming from partner websites? Are they coming from social? Or are they coming from emails or direct referrals? And then depending on your business, you'll probably want to tweak it one way or the other. So let's me guess before we look at it. What I would say is probably stuff comes from some mailing list stuff. Most stuff's going to come from search, but I know there's some promotion being done, so there probably will be some sort of referral stuff in there. You'd expect a site like this mostly to be found by search, but what you would hope in building it is you want to see a definite growth in direct links. It'll be a small number, but you'd want a definite growth in that, because that means either people are coming from email or they're coming from word of mouth and remembering your site. They've got it bookmarked or whatever. So you definitely want to see that growth, because that will be good for consulting work, good for this stuff. And also referrals, it dilutes your reliance on search. So, and it also then boosts how search will happen, because you are seen to be coming from a lot of other partners. The leads you're actually going to get for business, though, are usually, unless you've got a quick sale product, are going to come better from referral partners. So other websites that you have got articles on or different things on than they are direct from search. Because when a product's going to take a while to think about, you're not going to see that straight away. So what we can see is interesting is definitely getting some traffic from LinkedIn and stuff. I'd have to ask afterwards if you were promoting anything or just putting content in there and it was fitting with the audience. So that was interesting, and to see whether they were just clicking through from your name, you, or whether they were actually visiting blog posts. We could look in on that. There are some other rubbishy free tools, or Google website tracking is plagued by these fake links that don't go anywhere and don't come from anything. Then there's some Facebook and some Medium and stuff. So you've got a bit of diversity based on the scale. So that's nice. It'd be interesting to see what the LinkedIn type of traffic was doing, like how it's converting, how it's working. There's quite a new traffic's coming from there. Bounce rate, but the bounce rate is quite high on those short links and stuff. So people are so Answers, he is promoting a lot of content through there. So what I'd say is I'd benchmark those numbers and try and get these down. If you can get the bounce rate down or another action. So if you can get the bounce rate stays up because you won't solve everything, but if you could get the pages per session up or something, basically you want to look for one of these numbers that you're either getting new sessions down, means that you're getting back to the same audience, so they're happier. This will generally mean the bounce rate will come down. Otherwise, you want your new visitors to come in, but bounce rate down because they're getting to the next page. So if this goes up, so you can see if it went up more to 1.5, you're going to be bringing your bounce rate down. Now, you might disproportionately, you might have a lot of people bouncing and then a few people visiting more, but on average, you want to bring that down. And in the same sense, it will bring the time up. So in 18 seconds and 17 seconds, people can't have read much in your article. Now they may come back again. So if we saw the potential sessions of these people coming back later, then that's good. They're bookmarking it for later or something. We might look at the time of day, see when's good to target LinkedIn stuff. But definitely the stuff that's not getting short linked. So I'm guessing, don't know, I'd have to look at it, whether this is the stuff that's coming off the adverts and this is the stuff that's coming from your own content, like just talking and links, or the other way around. I'm not sure offhand which type of linking is coming through, but definitely whatever you're doing that's coming through in this way is being more successful. I mean, any stuff that's coming off a social network is going to be low. What you want to get is get these people to want to come back again. Not that you're going to get a direct conversion over those, unless you've got a really good offer, a thing that they can quickly and easily buy. But that's interesting to see. Then on the source of Medium, this we do a bit of work on of breaking down of ranking your individual referrals or individual things by medium. So a medium is referrals, organic, direct, which will count as none. So basically this traffic, which is what I said I'd say was interesting for you from a consulting point of view, this is people who know about you or bookmark you or have come in with sort of all tracking turned off. But generally it's those section of people. So these numbers I would say you'd want to see growing. So if new sessions was growing. Now what you might happen is if you changed your content and weren't promoting as much but were writing better or something, you might see new sessions come down but the total number of sessions go up. What's probably more likely is you just want to grow all of that. It doesn't really matter what the other numbers are doing as much, as long as you're growing those new sessions, because it tends to be people who are coming in direct are coming again after they've come the first time. So they tend to be more likely to be repeat visitors, but it is showing that these are quite high new sessions, so that's interesting. The other stuff is just ranking how you're seeing that direct traffic is still much bigger than your LinkedIn stuff. So however you're getting that through, then we want to see in the channels. So these are the numbers rather than the individual sites. So they're the causes, and then this is the effect. It's much easier to compare these over time and then note what the difference was in campaigns within that, because the stuff in here will tend to jump around a bit more, but these numbers will tend to be more stable and you want them to go in a particular direction. So if we tracked maybe direct traffic versus organic search in here, command plot, that's what I wanted. And then we get rid of the total. Can we get rid of the total sessions? I don't think so. Maybe we can. No. Okay. So I'll put this a bit bigger, but we can't do that. Let's move it up to weekly so we get more of a graph. So what we can sort of see is direct traffic is growing much more than organic. So there's definitely an activity you're doing there that is more in line with your total growth, to do with to do with direct traffic and presumably with social. So it'd be interesting to see you do more stuff towards search, I would say. So you're doing, in a sense, proportionally well in this direct and social stuff. So the social can be good, but sometimes you find it's a bit low return. Time. Where do I learn, GA? Time and reading and stuff. I'll send you some stuff afterwards. So, but what we can see is this is where these two numbers is what's pushing this up, is your direct and social growth. But what would be interesting is, for example, if you broke this one page of blog up into a lot more pages, you will rank better on Google, because it will be more content that you are coming in on. People are not searching on blog general that keeps changing. They're searching on these individual articles. So if you broke that up, I would suggest you will see better ranking positions, and this would grow. Obviously, I can't speak for exactly how much it will grow, because I don't know the audience yet, but we can see that people are looking at this content in the direct and social. Now, it's difficult to know how much of this, in a sense, is paid growth, but it's definitely growth, and it's not all bad, sort of thing. Like people are getting past a page. If you saw a really high bounce rate and like 10 seconds 0.0 page views, then you can sort of see that your socials and stuff is not working if you're paying for it. So yeah, so that can be definitely one to see. So I track these. I want to graph these and see where they're going, and then have an idea of a portfolio. So say our baseline target is to do this thing, but let's get more of this. So I definitely say get more referrals, because that'll drive business too. Because in order to get a referral, you tend to be, I'm asking to guest post, I'm asking for related adverts or whatever, or other, I'm just commenting or different things on other forums and stuff, and those links are driving back to me. And it's much harder for someone to take those away from you. The search stuff and paid stuff, paid stuff you've got to keep paying to keep it going. Social stuff, you've got to keep making an effort to make it work. The direct stuff is harder to comment on without sort of speaking to more, but search can flip, and you'd lose your traffic, or someone else can beat you. It's very hard for people to beat you in referral, because it's getting your name in front of people, and that's the big game, is basically keeping your name in front of people so that you can talk to them. Because if they keep seeing your name, then they'll keep bumping into you and stuff. Just to see whether you're doing any, no, we're not doing any word stuff. Yeah, what is worth doing is setting up Search Console, or what used to be called Webmaster Tools, where you put a little tracking code in your website, because that is where you can see some search keyword data. So if I just log into Webmaster Tools, I can't remember what the URL is. So if I log into mine for my own website, what you get in here is it's sort of giving you a view of what Google is doing, what the search crawler is doing, and a little bit of what people are viewing. So it's telling you how many people have clicked from Google to you, which is sort of interesting to see how it's going. The number of URLs that you've told them about, but the number that they've indexed. So for example, on my website, I've told them about a lot of URLs, but they've only bothered indexing half of them. So this can be very important. If you've made whole new sections of your website, but they're not being indexed, are they not being indexed yet? Or is just Google not really interested in a load of your pages? It may be that I've got some random pages that just aren't really very interesting, or it doesn't find visits to them very interesting. But what we can get in here is we start getting click data. So you can't see that anymore in Google Analytics, because Google have started blocking it. It's sort of to protect people from SEO and from just trying to game this stuff, like stuffing stuff with it. But it is a bit sad too, because it is nice to know some of this stuff. You get so much intent and so much interest from stuff. I mean, people knowing that people were looking for me as a Joomla developer or a responsive developer or Brighton, it tells me so much. And now you almost have to do it driven by content, that you want to have very few, like a lot of content pages to cover these keywords, but almost you're looking at the traffic coming into those pages as implying the keywords. So if a lot of people, if I had a Joomla page and a freelancer page, and more people were visiting the Joomla page than the freelance page, then that's telling me something. But it is much nicer and much more nuanced to actually see what people are doing when they're searching. So I do very much like keyword stuff. There's so much interesting sort of search stuff you can get out of it. The other one is you can sort of see who Google thinks is linking to you and what is contributing to your ranking. So that you can't tell from analytics. You can tell who people are visiting from visiting their websites, but not who's helping your scoring. So sort of amusingly on here, the one that gives me the most links is some blog posts on a board gaming website. So by putting comments and stuff on some other websites, you can actually get some good traffic. My friend who runs the Constructing Marketing podcast, I can sort of see if we do the roll over there. Sort of interestingly, I commented on one of his stories about a year ago, or one of his blog podcasts about a year ago, and because that comment was featured on the right-hand side of his page as recent comments, and not many people commented on his site, even though they listened to his content, it was giving me loads of backlinks because it was letting me backlinks. So I was getting loads of really good traffic from, or ranking related stuff from his website, just by putting in a comment saying I liked your show and there was something on there that was good. So it doesn't have to always be that you've written something really good. There can be a certain amount of work. Now it tends to be harder the bigger the site gets, but if you're doing this consistently and just getting out there, especially for a sort of consulting business, you can find that some other traffic. So for example, these two are networks in the local area. So I'm getting traffic from them. They're not directly, I've written a blog post there or something. So these are interesting. And also then you see which pages are showing up in Google the most to therefore get clicks. So therefore you can get some more interesting stuff. And also it'll give you some errors and stuff. It'll say, yes, we found some server errors or something. So yeah, it's saying it's finding some errors with these pages, like 500s mean that page says it's not there. So this is interesting, and this, for example, is a page, is a story that I like, I value. So we can check, is that working? And yep, it's working. So what this, so I can mark that as fixed. What this can mean is that yeah, so this page is redirected. This page doesn't exist anymore. I've changed the URL or whatever. So maybe I want to go and fix that, put a redirect in or something. So this information can be very valuable to check that your website's working properly. Yeah, so that's about that. Conversions, I would set up conversions on here. So if I'm looking at your website, let's flip it around and just run through the website and see what I would change in the analytics setup. Now, I can't see too much wrong directly in your first analytics setup. The pages seem to be tracking and stuff, but I would just go through the tracking codes and just see that attribution is working and any other little tricks we can do to set the codes up better. So again, we've got another thing with it. These are all good. They do click through, so that's good. So we should see page views. What we just want to check is, for example, in the page source, I'm guessing you don't have any tracking code on this page, so we would have no idea. Yeah, we have no idea when people visit that page, so you don't know which of your stories people are valuing. Now we can put a tracking code on here to say they click to this link, but that's much more work than you've put the tracking code on every page on your website. It's a bit more effort to track outbound links. So yeah, definitely say go and put some tracking codes on those pages, because then we can see what those are. And let's just drop in a little JavaScript in. We've got some good stuff going on the bottom. So this is a conversion. So we'd want to put, we'd want to tag. Now it's hard to do forms that are on every page. So what you have to say is we want to know this is a thing we want to know about, and we want to see hi and love. So what we want to see is the thank you page. Now, what's tricky again here is there's no thank you page. So I don't go off to another page. Now, this is good for me continuing wandering around the website, but it's not really good for tracking. We can track it, but you'd need to get a technical person who can set up event tracking, and you'd fire an event for the form being submitted, an event for the thank you, and store that back in Google. You wouldn't get it as simply as building a funnel of here's one page, then the next page, then the next page. So that can be a little bit more tricky, or sometimes you'll want to just force in a thank you page which goes full screen, just because you can mention something else, but obviously just you can log it, because obviously no one's got to go to a contact us page to do it. The only other bit I would say though is if that's your main contact us, it is good to have it on every page, but if I'm just on here, I'm not seeing anything to do with contact us sort of thing. If I'm just up here trying to think where to contact you. So that's the only thing I'd say is probably highlight it and have a page of itself as well. Now we could just go and have a look where I'd hope to find it would be in your about. So it's sort of in your about, but it's not really. So definitely some sort of call to action or contact me or whatever. That's interesting. There's a video for your CV. That's good, but definitely I want to know what the next step is if this is about me. But sure, go and do something else. Like come and see me. You sort of got this a little bit here. Let's just see if that does go. So that's sort of capture, but it's not a contact us. So so that's good. That's good that that's on here, and that maybe is the best thing to put on here. But in the about us section tends to be where we put a contact us. So that would be very useful if there was some top line thing to do contact, would be very useful. Let's just look at resources. So resources are going to be good because they've got actions and stuff happening. Possibly you'd want to go to a second page before you let people download. It's all right to have downloads here, but it's then harder for us to send marketing to those pages because look, we can't click on any of these, so we don't know what anyone's looking at. Oh, that one doesn't work. Let's see. We'll test this page now. See if these all work. Because that's the important thing. If the things don't work, then yeah, hey, why have we got them on the page? So these are good. But what it would allow you is, yep, sure, this is a nice page, like visually, but we can't sell much or we can't connect to much or have our little why not sign up for our drip course right next to, like on the page like you did on the other one, which was really nice on your about. You could just do another page like this with a quote on and a sign up. That would make these resources more effective, and it would also make them index separately. At the moment, we've got a confusing page of coffee story. These are sort of similar. So training, questions, voiceover. So different subject, same subject, different subject, as far as I can see without reading into them. So even if you had 3 pages here, not 2, you sort of had some sections or something. I'd probably keep it simple and just make a page for each, because the key one I'm always looking for is if I want to send out an email newsletter or something, I want to land them on the same page, not have to develop new content to promote it each time, or just send them here and they randomly are picking anything. I want to get them through a channel. So definitely look into that. And we could look back on the analytics and see whether people are getting there or where they're coming from. This one, all good. No call to action, no nothing. Services, I mean, the design of it's lovely. It's just suggestions of what we could do and on what we could track. So there's not much we can track. These are just individual things we track. So that's good. And then on the work, yeah, there we said of the work because we want to track the things separately. Looks great and nice short things. What would be good is maybe that the demo, you click to view demo, but it's more a case study on that page or this written out again, because then if people are searching for supplier training, searching for product certification, they can land in on that page, and that's your channel, and you could develop some email campaigns or some targeting that was just into that. It seems quite hard to target people to anything but your articles with the design of the stuff at the moment. Also, maybe, I guess the only other comment, the top line stuff is if people land on the website, e-learning architect, probably e-learning is enough, but and it probably is enough in the words, but it'd be nice to put a tagline or something near the top of some of the important pages. So this is really good. This is a nice thing, and I do like your rocket. But yeah, I mean here it looks nice, and it might be just I've got a small screen, but I've got nothing. It's not telling me anything like what you're doing, what you're selling. Now it's a playoff. You've got that stuff of you should push it a little bit, but not too far away from the design, and you've got to play off. But if you want to convert stuff off of this, then you need to get stuff in that top third of the page where people are looking. People are going to look here, and then they're going to go down the side of the page, and they're going to bang across. So they're going to find this, but what we've got is e-learning architect is super tips. Well, is that what you are? Don't think so. We're not selling tips, but maybe that's a good thing. Like that's the only thing we're doing, keeping nice and simple. We get them into here and then we get them into conversions, but it can be slightly harder if that's your only channel, because a lot more business type people aren't going to necessarily be interested to go just through email to then get to something that they then might want to talk to you on. So let me just see if, last point, have you got any conversions on your emails? Obviously, we're just going to choose one at random. Cool. So we've got one here, more nice graphics, really, really nice, broken up, pull out things. You could even drop in one of those little tweet these things for those, and then we've got comments, and that's really good. Get people are commenting on it, so that's what we want to see is repeat visitors on your individual articles. So that'd be good that the comments and likes and shares are coming in, and then you've got a call to action at the bottom of that thing, so that's good. There's a reason to push people on or generate some people with stuff, and the extra encouragement on the sides, which, though they're quite big on most sites, it's sort of because your site is quite nice and big and clear, they don't sort of, to me, they don't shout too much, they don't get in the way. So that's good. And just one more test, we do have and they do flip around, yeah. So we do have a mobile thing too. We can obviously look at some slightly different mobile stuff when we were examining a website of how it's working with different stuff. So definitely your selling messages are good, but from a tracking point of view, you could definitely get some more value, and that would teach you some more stuff and potentially convert some more people. I mean, that's the intent we want with those things. So yeah, that's my piece now for, let me just get the video back up and stop, and people can check back in, or let me know if they want to learn some more stuff about analytics and driving your business through data. Thank you. I've been Tristan Bailey, and you can find out more about me at holdingbay.co.uk. We work mainly with engineering companies and manufacturing product companies, and people doing SaaS and metrics-driven work for them. Thank you, and speak to you later.